The New Guy by Jansen Davies. Chapter 1. Expedite. The space depot was a place of routine. Cargo came in, troops went out, and the clerks behind the glass kept their heads down and their paperwork tight. Nothing ever happened here that wasn't scheduled 3 weeks in advance. That's why the arrival of the new guy was so jarring. He didn't come in a transport. He didn't wear a uniform. He didn't speak until spoken to. He simply walked through the outer gate, passed the biometric scan, and handed the clerk a small black chip. The chip was unmarked except for one word etched in silver: expedite. The clerk, a veteran of 20 years and 0 surprises, frowned. "You're not on the manifest," he said. The new guy didn't blink. "I'm not supposed to be." The clerk slid the chip into the authenticator. It chirped once, then again. The screen flashed green. The clerk's eyes widened. He'd only seen that response once before, when a 4-star admiral dropped in for an unannounced inspection of the fleet's nuclear protocols. He looked up at the stranger. No insignia, no rank, no scars. Just calm eyes and a faint smile. "Who sent you?" the clerk asked. The new guy shrugged. "Does it matter?" The clerk hesitated, then typed a few commands. The system offered one suggestion: Jackels unit, priority reinforcement. The Jackels had just limped back from the rift. Half their squad was dead. The other half was broken. They needed bodies. Any bodies. The clerk clicked assign. "Report to Commander Ryder," he said. "Hangar 17. The new guy nodded once, turned, and walked away. The clerk watched him go, then leaned back in his chair. Something about the man made his skin crawl. Not fear, not awe, just uncertainty, like watching a storm form on a clear day. He pulled up the chip's data again. No origin, no clearance level, no biometric match, just one word: expedite. Chapter 2. Welcome to the Jackels. Hangar 17 smelled like scorched metal and old sweat. The Jackels had returned from the rift only 48 hours earlier, dragging their wounded and their ghosts behind them. Their gear was battered, their morale worse. The walls still bore plasma scoring from a firefight that had followed them home. Commander Ryder sat behind a desk made of repurposed hull plating, nursing a cup of black stim brew and a headache that hadn't let up in days. When the new guy walked in, Ryder didn't look up right away. He was reading the assignment notice again, hoping it would change. It didn't. "You the only one they sent?" he asked, finally glancing up. "Yes, sir," the new guy replied. Ryder sighed. "Figures. You got any deep space or combat experience?" "No, sir. I was raised on one of the outer worlds." Ryder leaned back, rubbing his temples. "Why me?" "That's all I need. Another colony rat with no training and no clue." The new guy didn't respond. He stood at attention, calm and silent. Ryder stared at him for a moment longer, then gave up. "Fine. Welcome to the Jackels, new guy. Report to First Sergeant Andrus and get yourself a bunk, but don't get too comfortable. We're jumping off again in 2 days." "Yes, sir," the new guy said, saluting crisply. Ryder watched him leave, then muttered to himself, "Expedite my ass." First Sergeant Andrus was in the middle of chewing out a corporal when the new guy arrived. He didn't pause his tirade, just pointed toward the far end of the hangar and barked, "Bunks are over there. Pick one that doesn't smell like death." The new guy nodded and walked past rows of temporary cots, most of them occupied by sleeping, snoring, or silently brooding commandos. He chose an empty bunk near the wall and stowed his gear underneath with methodical precision. Just then, a squad of armored jackals entered from the far side, fresh from debrief and still radiating combat adrenaline. They moved like predators, scarred, sharp-eyed, and suspicious. One of them, a lean corporal with a jagged scar across his cheek, stopped and looked the new guy over. "You the new guy?" he asked. "Yes, sir. We heard about you. No experience, no talent, no use." The new guy didn't reply. He simply sat on his bunk and began checking his gear. The corporal snorted and walked off. The others followed, stripping off armor and settling into the rhythms of downtime, cleaning weapons, swapping stories, nursing wounds. Then came the first test. Sergeant Andrus, hulking and perpetually irritated, sat on his bunk eating a synth meat sandwich. As the new guy walked past, Andrus spat on the floor. "Clean that up, new guy." Without hesitation, the new guy stepped forward, plucked the sandwich from Andrus's hand, and used it to mop up the spittle. He then handed it back, expression neutral. "Anything else, Sergeant?" Andrus stared at him, stunned into silence. Around the hangar, a few chuckles broke out. Someone muttered, "Well played." The Jackels weren't sure what to make of him. He wasn't one of them, but he wasn't afraid of them either. Chapter 3. Hazing Protocol. The Jackels had a tradition. Every new recruit, especially one without combat experience, was tested. Not by formal drills or training exercises, but by the unspoken rituals of the unit. Hazing wasn't officially sanctioned, but it was expected. It was how they measured grit, how they filtered out the weak. The new guy was no exception. It started with the basics. His gear was accidentally relocated to the far end of the hangar. His bunk was short-sheeted. His rations were swapped for expired protein packs. He was assigned double shifts on maintenance duty, cleaning plasma scorches off the hull with a rag and a bucket of solvent. He never complained. When his boots were filled with coolant, he dried them out and wore them anyway. When someone replaced his sidearm with a training model, he calmly returned it and requested a live weapon. When a commando tried to trip him during morning drills, the new guy sidestepped without breaking stride. It was unnerving. The Jackels were used to pushback, anger, frustration, even tears. But the new guy absorbed every insult like it was part of the job. He didn't retaliate. He didn't bond. He didn't break. Sergeant Andrus watched him closely. The sandwich incident still gnawed at him. He'd expected defiance or submission. Instead, he'd gotten something else, something calculated. "Guy's a freak," Andrus muttered to Corporal Juno during weapons check. Juno shrugged. "Freaks die fast. Let him prove me wrong." But the new guy didn't die. He trained harder than anyone, ran longer, shot straighter. He didn't outperform the veterans, but he never faltered, and he never asked for help. That night, the squad gathered in the mess hall. The mood was tense. The next mission had just come down, an incursion on Sinclair 7, a colony world near the edge of the mapped frontier. The last transmission from the planet had been a distress beacon, cut off mid-scream. The Jackels would deploy at dawn. The new guy sat alone, eating quietly. Andrus approached, dropping into the seat across from him. "You scared?" he asked. "No, sir." "You should be. Sinclair 7's a meat grinder. This is the kind of op new guys don't come back from." The new guy looked up, eyes calm. "Then I'll make sure I'm not a new guy by the time we land." Andrus narrowed his eyes. "You think you're clever?" "No, sir. I think I'm ready." Andrus stood and walked away, unsettled. The rest of the squad watched the exchange in silence. Later, as lights dimmed and the hangar settled into uneasy sleep, the new guy sat on his bunk, humming softly to himself. A strange, lilting tune. Not military, not human. And he smiled. Chapter 4. Drop Zone. The troop transport shuddered as it broke atmosphere, its hull groaning against the pressure shift. Inside, the Jackals sat in full armor, weapons locked and loaded, visors down. The red light above the hatch pulsed like a heartbeat, Sinclair 7 loomed below, dust-choked skies, jagged terrain, and the faint glow of burning settlements. The colony had gone dark 3 days ago. The last transmission was a garbled scream and a single word: invasion. Commander Ryder's voice crackled over the internal comms. Standard drop formation. Secure the LZ. Sweep for survivors. Expect resistance. The new guy sat near the rear, checking his gear with surgical precision. His armor was standard issue, but it fit him like it had grown there. He didn't speak. He didn't fidget. He just hummed that same strange tune. Sergeant Andrus leaned over. "Still not scared?" "No, sir." "You will be." The red light turned green. "Drop in 5. The hatch blew open and the Jackels launched into chaos. Plasma fire lit the sky. Alien drones zipped overhead, strafing the landing zone. The terrain was worse than expected. Cracked basalt, sulfur vents, and jagged ridges that offered no cover. The squad hit the ground hard, weapons up, formation tight. "Contact left," shouted Juno, firing into a cluster of skittering shapes. The aliens were fast, multi-limbed, armored, and eerily silent. They moved like shadows, blending into the terrain until they struck. One of them leapt onto a commando, trying to tear through his chest plate before Andrus blew it apart with a scatter charge. "Form up," Ryder barked. "Deploy drones." Recon units zipped into the air, scanning the battlefield. What they found made everyone freeze. It was a trap. The enemy wasn't scattered. They were waiting, thousands of them, cloaked, buried, encircling the Jackels in a kill box. "Fall back," Ryder ordered. "Regroup at the ridge." But the aliens surged forward, 10 deep, forming a skirmish line that stretched across the horizon, heavily armored, coordinated, relentless. The Jackels opened fire. Plasma bolts lit the air. Grenades thumped into the ground. The ridge became a wall of smoke and blood. Then someone shouted, "Where's the new guy?" Andrus scanned the battlefield. No sign. "You think he bugged out?" "No," Ryder said. "He isn't the type." Suddenly, the enemy line faltered. Screams erupted from the rear ranks. High-pitched, guttural, panicked. Something was tearing through them. Not with weapons, with claws, with teeth. It was invisible, huge, a blur of motion and violence. Commandos watched in stunned silence as alien bodies flew into the air, torn apart mid-sprint. Armored transports were crushed like ration packs. Attack drones were swatted from the sky. The thing moved like a storm, unseen, unstoppable, primal. "Is that ours?" Juno whispered. "No," Andrus said, "but it's not theirs either." Within minutes, the battlefield was silent. The alien force was gone, not routed, eradicated. Bodies lay strewn across the terrain, many missing limbs that were never found. The colonists were discovered inside the enemy's largest ship, unharmed, confused, and terrified. The Jackels hadn't lost a single soldier. As they loaded survivors onto the transport, the new guy walked up from the far side of the ridge. His armor was clean, his rifle was unfired, his face was calm. "Where have you been?" Andrus asked. "Having lunch," the new guy said, smiling. No one laughed. No one asked again. Chapter 5. The Hollow Victory. The transport lifted off from Sinclair 7 in eerie silence. No cheers, no chatter. Just the low hum of engines and the occasional hiss of cooling armor. The Jackels sat in their jump seats, staring at nothing, replaying the battle in their minds. It wasn't victory they felt. It was confusion. They hadn't won. They'd survived. And something else had done the killing. Commander Ryder stood at the front of the cabin, arms crossed, watching his squad. He'd seen combat in every quadrant of the mapped frontier. He'd fought hive swarms, rogue AI, and insurgent fleets. but he'd never seen anything like what happened on Sinclair 7. He glanced at the new guy, who sat alone, humming softly, eyes closed. Ryder opened a private channel to Sergeant Andrus. "You saw it, didn't you?" Andrus nodded. "I saw the aftermath. I saw the bodies. But I didn't see it." "Any theories?" Andrus hesitated. "One, but I don't like it." "Let's hear it." "I think it was him." Ryder didn't respond. He didn't need to. Back at base, the Jackels were debriefed, scanned, and cleared. The official report listed the alien force as neutralized by unknown vector. The colonists were relocated. The battlefield was quarantined. The incident was classified. But rumors spread. The Jackels had returned without a scratch. The enemy had been annihilated. And the new guy, who had no combat experience, no training, and no record, was reassigned to another unit on another planet. No one protested. No one asked why. In the barracks, the Jackels gathered around a flickering hollow screen, watching grainy footage from the battle. Most of it was static, but one clip showed something, just for a moment. A blur, a shape, a massive figure moving faster than any drone could track. Iron claws, giant teeth, eyes that glowed like dying stars. "Could be a glitch," Juno said. "Could be a monster," Andrus replied. "Could be him," someone whispered. The next day, the new guy was gone. His bunk was empty. His gear was gone. His name was erased from the roster. But the Jackels remembered. They remembered the screams. They remembered the silence. And they remembered the sandwich. From that day forward, no Jackal ever hazed a new recruit again. Well, not much. The end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, please hit the bell icon for notifications. Thank you.